Space Productions presents Fred and Elkramir's Well of Remembrance with hosts Fred Godfrey and Elkrimmer Skeltfinger.
See your warpaint.
Hey, this is Thran.
Hey, this is Elkrimmer.
And as we promised, we're continuing our Shield episode that we did for Medieval Shop with their center boss, their Umbo. We're going to continue it with an actual shield construction video.
That's
we're
right,
going to show
guys.
you how to make a shield to put this on. And instead of just cutting out a piece of half-inch plywood, you know, like most people would do, which is not period at all, we're going to actually show you how to make one out of quarter-inch planking. But although it is a form of plywood, it's basically planking because we're using it like cabinetry material. We're using the real thin quarter-inch wood that has a thin veneer on it.
Furthermore, we're also going to show you how to use linen the correct way rather than just stretching it over that plywood and tacking it down. We're going to show you how to use a milk glue or laminate it down so that it's more like a Kevlar or a plastic. This promises to be a really interesting video today, guys.
And we'll start going over some materials here. Basically, we're going to use Elmer's wood glue. Now, it's based on a 1936 formula that's a casein glue or milk glue or cheese glue, like historically would have been used. Now, that would be hard to make a lot of back in the day if you knew what you were doing and you had all the materials. But most of y'all out there are going to have a hard time getting a material that's going to work properly out of milk yourself. You can do it, but sit there and to produce a large amount of it, it's easier just to go buy a large quantity like this.
And you will go through a lot of this.
You will go through a lot because this is a laminate. It's a lot like Kevlar or something, the way we're reinforcing the shield to make it legal. And
so you're going to need to probably have 2 containers of this, guys.
Right,
so be sure your list that you buy yourself the large $15. You can get this at any hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sutherland's. You're going to need one of these. And then for your finer detail work, you're going to need the dispenser with the squirt bottle on it. Then you're going to need some faux linen or real linen. This is important. You get this at any of your fabric stores. This has already been trimmed up.
We got cheaper faux linen. This is it's not really a faux linen. This is a broadcloth. It's very much linen-like. It will work. If the fibers are strong enough, it's going to work. If it's a tight enough weave.
As it is, real linen
as well.
Real linen is extremely expensive per yard, and you're going to need probably about anywhere from 2 to 3 yards just for a one layer covering. For larger amounts of covering, you might need anywhere from 6 to 10 yards to cover yourself to make sure that you have enough. If you make a mistake, you'll have some extra.
Right, at least 1 extra yard.
Yeah,
so
always make sure you have 1 extra yard.
Like he said, if you're going to cover it 2 times, you'd need 2 yards theoretically, but you need an extra yard to make sure you have
extra cloths if you make mistakes or if you need overlap. Right.
You're going to need a 3-foot dowel's what we're using to make our handle out of.
Make sure this is the 1-inch dowel.
Yeah, we used an oak one, I believe, here. Oak is a period wood. Most shields were not made out of oak. You can use oak cabinetry plywood. This plywood here that we have is 1/4 inch. But this one here is birch. Birch is period. I mean, they did have some period shields. We haven't found hardly any of linden wood, even though it's mentioned as linden shields. We haven't found many of it. Any wood that will give. A lot of people say oak won't work. I've experimented with it. It will work. And if you get it, to show you something, the grain, where it shows the grain going up and down, that's how you're going to want it on the shield, because this is a thin veneer. This really doesn't count. The only wood that really counts is the planking. In the center, if you look, 90% of the entire thing is the planking going left and right, which is actually this way, horizontally. It's the way we're going to reinforce it with our brace this way when we get done. This is just a little piece that was cut out of one. The thing you're going to need also is you're going to need a pencil and string, so we can show you how to draw it, because of course you're not going to have a template or anything to cut to get the size of shield you want. I like a 3-foot shield. I like them fairly large. I believe they were used a lot, especially in war. That was the idea of making a construction where it's lightweight but strong.
Exactly. You'll also need, for your rimming, this is optional, but you can use it if you want to. This is for 1/4-inch plywood. This is an aluminum border.
It's a C channeling. Now, the reason we're using this is if we could find light enough steel, iron, anything, copper, bronze, anything that was, of course bronze would be very expensive, but if we could find one thin enough that was lightweight to do it, because when they did do any kind of rimming that we can tell, it was very thin rimming. It was like a thin rim. You could make your own somehow.
Something
take
you
the time
might
to cut
want to
little
know
sections
about
of
this,
ribbon
guys,
on
is
if you
that you
want.
can only find these usually in about, these pieces you can usually find in about 9-foot sections. So be sure that you buy yourself an extra section because you're going to run out of space, as we're going to show you later.
Which you can buy in shorter pieces too.
Right, you can buy shorter pieces, but you're going to need a little extra.
If you're going to do this option here, you could decide to get rawhide, which this is not a rawhide video. We're showing linen lamination. Rawhide's another way to cover a shield, and it's excellent. But you could use just rawhide, like get the bones from the store. I've seen people do this. Soak them in water. Stretch them out because it ends up being strips, and you can tack that around the outside, and that will reinforce the edge nicely.
Right, we're just going to show you a slightly easier method. This is probably going to do it for you.
Right.
Make sure you have some power tools available, guys. You're really going to want to have yourself a Dremel, drill,
for cutting the fabric,
sander.
Sander works great. For the
now,
handle.
you can use the hand sanders. They have those if you want to be really cheap.
This is going to be for the handle here.
But these power sanders are a lot quicker for what we're doing.
You're going to need a drill.
You will need a drill.
We're going to use a Dremel. You could use bolt cutters. You could use
or a hacksaw.
Hacksaw, which we have a hacksaw too, because that's the best way if you're doing the aluminum rimming to cut that without damaging it too badly. And
You
we'll
want
show
to
how
get the
do that as well.
hacksaw for the aluminum rimming if you choose to do that. You're also going to need a jigsaw.
Jigsaw is the best way to cut these circles out in a hurry. And this is what I will say, and we say this a lot in some of the different reenactment group signs because I'm quite anachronistic. If they would have had it, they would have used it.
You're right about that.
But if you want to use a keyhole type saw and cut this out, which is what they'd have to do to cut some kind of planking out, but normally they'd have planks and glue them together as they got done. So
that's right.
They'd be cutting in smaller pieces. You could cut them with other tools. But if you want to do that, go for it. It's going to be a pain.
We want you to do this as quick as possible. So
right.
let's try to use as
few
period tools as possible. And try to use power tools.
To set this wonderful shield balls here from Medieval Shop On, we're going to use to have steel rivets, because steel rivets are quite expensive and hard to get hold of at times. We're going to use nails. We're going to cut nails down with our Dremel tool. And we're going to use 1/8" washers, fender washers, which are relatively cheap, as rivets. And in the actual handle, we'll probably do some cut-off, bent-over nails, because those were period as well in the shields we find. They put nails through and bent them off. And I know these nails don't look like period cast nails, but in the shield with this on the front, they look fine. They have the strength you need. They're going to do what you want.
They're going to have a really period look, and like you said,
I think
they're
these
going to
are
do
just
what you want.
16-penny nails, or they're just basic nails.
Very simple. Yeah, you can get a very cheap.
And you're going to need some saw harshes possibly, or something to set up on a table, and something to use as an anvil to set your rivets or bend them over.
We like the use of these
dumbbell
weights.
Yeah.
They work fine, but if you have an anvil, even better. Anything like that will do.
And depending on the reenactment group you're in, some of them require, depends on the kingdom you're in. If you'll say you're in the Society of Creative Anachronism, they may require hose. We don't recommend using heater hose for cars. No. This stuff is extremely heavy. We don't recommend using garden hose. Garden hose, that's terrible. It tears up. What we recommend is you go get this irrigation hose, and if you look at this, you can see that it has nylon threading in it. It's clear, and let's say you wanted to put this over your shield. It doesn't show up much. It's very lightweight, and I'm not sure. I think this is 1/4" hose is the center. It's either 1/4 or 1/2 inch. I think it might be 1/2 inch. I'm not sure what they consider it. I'm not seeing it on it, but you'll notice it's small. You stretch it out as you put it on and you cut it. We started cutting the edging of this one, but we'll talk about this later, and it just slips over the edge, and it doesn't take up a lot of room, and it covers what they want legally and allows you to do it. Not all require that. Some, the way we're going to show you the basic shield with the linen over it, will be enough.
I think we've pretty much covered all the materials, right?
We've covered everything. We can get into construction.
All right, well, let's get to work, bro.
All right, let's go.
Our first step today, guys, is to go ahead and show you how to create your circle and cut it out.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use this piece of aluminum. So you can use any kind of straight edge that's long enough. We just happen to use this because it's the only thing we had that was long enough. And we're going to draw from corner to corner to find the center. You have it right on the corner?
Yep.
Right on. I got mine right on. It doesn't have to be the exact center per se, but close enough so you have enough material.
If you have a partner like we have, you can pass your pencil on. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, have your hoop score will help you. We're just doing this to make sure we don't run out of material. We got this exact center point. Now what we're going to do is get a nail. The same nails we're going to use for other stuff.
Oh, here, I got your nail right here.
Alright, and we're going to take your hammer. Doesn't have to be this kind of hammer, but we're going to knock a hole in the center to tie our string to. And if it damages the center a little bit on the back side, splits a little bit, you should be okay, because that's going to be cut out anyway. You're throwing that piece away. That's going to be for your center grip. Here's a good way to do it. We'll set here, we'll stretch a piece of string over it, how big we want it. Because none of this has to be done with actual measurements. It can be done with just string and links. But we don't want it too long or too short, so what we can do is we have a pencil with string on it here, or any kind of marking implement. We can pretty much do it like this. Get this twisted where we want it. And we want half this much, not the full amount. So to half it. And we want, it's kind of difficult sometimes at times, but make sure it's the right amount.
It could take a moment for you to establish exactly the amount of
I
weight
would say
you
that's
want.
about right.
See, now he's looped it over the nail here.
Just try to draw it. The smaller it's going to be easier to do this way. Bigger.
If you've ever used a compass in grade school or in junior high or whenever you might have used a compass in geometry, this is pretty much the ancient way of using a compass.
Yeah, they could stretch and angle but you can kind of see if you're about right. As you can see here, that looks about right, doesn't it?
That does look about right.
I think that'll be fine. If we cut that out, it's not going to... I try to make it a hair smaller, but not too small, because you don't want something to rub your hand either when you have it in there.
Right. Now, the next step is to get that outer circle done, and then we'll move on to the jigsaw.
It should be about the exact same length as this dowel, because this is exactly 3 feet. It fits like we've got maybe a 1/4 inch
total
extra
gap, but
also make sure it's right both ways, especially this way. This is your up and down. How's that?
that looks good.
It's not overlapping, sticking out?
No, it's not sticking out. You
We're
got
good.
about a 1/4 inch there.
We've got it. Now it's going to be cutting this out. We're going to have to get the drill to punch holes to start. And I like normally cutting the center out first because it gives you something I can grab a hold of while you're turning it and cutting it. Alrighty, we've got our drill here. Now what we're going to do with this drill is we're going to put holes in the center, but inside the drawing. Of course, you don't want to accidentally go past your line. You want to stay inside your line. So what we're going to do is drill a few holes to start them off here. You could use a bigger drill bit to do this, so you can just, but we're using a smaller because it's easier to put in. I'm just going to kind of go side by side and wallow it out because I'm used to doing it. I know that's not how you normally do it. A lot of people would recommend drilling a big hole or use a hole saw to start a hole or whatever you like. But
This is to change out drill bit.
yeah, he's got enough to start his cut there.
That's your completed center hole for your boss.
And you can actually try your boss now and see how you did. A good way to do that is to take the boss, slip it on here and see how it fits over it. That looks like we did well. birch. I believe this one's birch. We also use oak sometimes, or whatever we get a hold of is good. And we're going to go ahead and put our first layer of linen on, which normally I would do the back, but it doesn't matter totally. I might just take the lid off this and get it.
That'd probably be the best idea. And a lot of times a lot of times, guys, that's why you want to have the large $15 jug. This is the 1 gallon. Typically on this stage, you want to just open up the top and just pour.
Between the fabric and the actual glue is what's creating your effect. That's very much like rawhide. If you took a piece of it off and you played with it, you'd realize that it behaves like rawhide. And even rawhide has the same drawback and advantage. If the shield gets wet, all the old shields did. Any adhesives used, because they would be either hide or wood glue, actually
you don't need any special tools to spread. Your hands will do just fine. This is like any regular Elmer's glue. You can just rub it on.
You can use any wood glue, even the cheaper brands, whatever deal you get, as long as it's the same type of glue. Smells the same, feels the same. Just I've dealt with real glues that I make. They smell, feel, and look exactly the same.
Wow, that looks like it's caked on there pretty heavily, Fran.
It has to be. It's going to be absorbed into the cloth. The cloth actually absorbs it. So if you don't put enough, then you won't end up with the right effect. So what we're going to do is we have one section. It's about a yard section, a little bit longer, and we need to put it on this way. We're going to stretch it down. What we do is you do not want to touch this after you put it on, like with anything hard or harsh. You'll end up causing bubbles. You'll cause problems. Hopefully yours is pressed out a little more than ours, and it's got wrinkles.
Right. Now, you don't want to use any kind of edging or rolling pins or anything like that. You just
I've tried all that stuff before thinking it would be better, but what you end up with is you end up with it sticking to the instrument and making bubbles, and bubbles are bad. Because what you want is you want this to adhere down to that glue.
As you can see, this is coming down tight like a snare drum, and as we're tugging on the edges against the rounded edge of the shield. As it's coming around the edge of the blade.
The glue will even come up through the fabric.
Yes, it'll start seeping through. It'll bleed right through.
This is perfectly all right. That's what you want. What you're doing is you're making a type of plywood that doesn't exist. You're making a plywood that's, I don't know if it exists. Maybe somewhere they have something.
Now we're getting some seeping here around the edges.
I shouldn't say that. Who knows? Someone may have done this, but you're making a plywood that actually has fibers. And use the back of your nails is what I like doing, and just do this number. See how I'm like, even if those little lines are in there, they're fine.
They're going to come right out.
Right, but this way they don't stick, and we're just barely pressing it down in the glue. Like that.
Now you're not using any real pressure.
Right, because if you accidentally push down and your fingers stick to this, it will pull up and make a bubble underneath the fabric.
That's right. We don't want that. We want to avoid any kind of bubbling.
And what you would do if you're going to do multiple layers, you would let this one totally dry, or at least about 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, depending on the temperature of the humidity where you're at, the dryness, how hot it is. I don't recommend trying to speed up the drying because you could screw something up trying to heat it up too much or something. If you put it in like I don't know, who knows, maybe if you do painting or something and you have a friend that has an area to dry paint, you might be able to put it in there if they had a special room or something for it. But you can even re-stretch it after you've done the nail thing, you stretch again. But this is making sure that the fabric's picking up the glue. Is what we're trying to do.
That's it. You want it to bleed through the fabric.
Right. That's why I put a lot on here and caked it on. So we're going with one layer, so we want to do a really good job.
Now this is going to take a little while to dry, guys. And when you're done drying this side, then you're going to want to flip the shield over. And when you flip the shield over, you want to repeat the process. The exact same process on the back side and let it dry. Now this is just more layers, 2 layers.
Then you would continue after that.
Exactly.
The back side, since I normally doesn't make it that much thicker, I just make it all the way to the edge and cut it off at the edge. The front side, I leave a little gap. So when you put on the actual rimming, you have excess cloth and you fold it over and glue it on the back side.
Right. Now we're going to show you that on the next phase when we get this dried piece ready for you.
Correct.
All right, well, let's let this dry. Go ahead and come back and see what happens.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Alrighty, we're back here, and we have the shield with both layers. We're doing 2 layers because this would be good for an SCA reenactment shield, or if you're going to do steel, maybe you want to do 2 layers on front and back. You can go as many as you like, but remember it adds a lot of weight to the shield because the glue has to set into the fabric. But we've got 2 layers here. One goes all the way to the edge where we're going to do this one, and the other one we left plenty to overlap because that's going to overlap our rimming. If you didn't want to do rimming, you could overlap it from one way when it dries and put it on, overlap it the other way and glue it all the way around the edge, and then use like a rawhide or something, or hose. But with this thin of wood, it's easy to crack. So that's why we recommend the aluminum C-channeling, quarter-inch C-channeling, or if you can find something like that, or even if you want to take your time and take some kind of metal flashing and make your own little rimming, that's possible too. I mean, all this is put a rope around the edge. I've seen people do that, like glue some kind of rope that they can press down against it and then wrap it over with this method works as well.
Right on.
Something to help protect that edging. That's what we're talking about here.
Right, now we're going to be moving on to the next stage.
We're going to cut the hole out and then trim the amount we want left over. But what I'm doing is I'm just cutting this out. There's a little overhang and it doesn't have glue on it. It's not sharp. It's fine. Who cares?
Nobody's really going to see it anyway. Once you have the boss on, and
you can cut it as neat as you want. If you want to say it with an X-Acto razor and get it
right.
perfect and all that, that's fine. But it's not going to really make any difference. The boss is going over there to hold fabric down and so on.
Right. Now, as we come to this trim section here,
we want to make sure we have enough to overlap.
Right, but as you can see, when we glued the front section on, this is the front of the shield, you'll notice that there's not glue all the way edge. It's still bare, and it's not glued down. This is for the reason that Brad was telling you that when we put that C-channeling on, it's going to go here, and then later when we glue, we're going to have enough after we trim here to overlap and glue to the back. So we're going to have to be careful how much we trim off.
Right, I'm going to go ahead and figure out the smallest part here, because that's about all we need. The smallest I've got. I don't know where that's going to be. Probably up here, where I accidentally didn't leave enough. You have to be very careful to leave extra. See, we're going to get it about there, and we're going to figure out what that is, and that should be plenty. That's about 3 inches or 3 tums. You're using old Viking measurement. A tum is the width from here to here. We'll be making a joke about that a little bit while we're doing our channeling. But we're just going to trim it like that all the way around. You don't need too much overhang, but the more, of course, it's more reinforcement, but it's also more weight. More glue has to be absorbed. So we're going about 3, which I'm using inches, this increment here. About the length of my finger. That should be even all the way around, and we should have enough. If you look, when we go to do this, we can pull it over and glue it down. And if you've got little jaggies and stuff, and you don't like that, that's fine, but it doesn't really matter. It's all going to be glued down, so it's not a problem. We pretty much got that stage done. Now we need to get the channeling ready to put on.
All right, let's get that done.
Let's get it going. All right, now we're working with our aluminum seat channeling. As you see, this shield had some underneath the hose, and the hose is being held on, like I said, about 3 inches or 3 tums in with sinew. It's hard to see on this side, but maybe if we flip it around. That's if you want to do that. I drill the holes in deep, and I actually lace it on. I'm hoping you can see that there. And then this is the hose we're talking about splitting and putting over it. This is not even lined with anything, back or front. There's no linen that's on it, or nothing laminated on it, and it still works very well. I mean, I know this looks horrible, but I mean, it lasted for years. So, of course, I didn't use as much as some of the other shields. But anyway, that was scaled. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. We start off. This is 1 tum, 1 inch. So you want about 1 inch every single time. It's not necessary to go all the way back to the back of the metal. It's the rimming. You can go back to about 1/4 inch of it, and you're okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going so far and see how that's not even all the way back. That's fine. It will bend. I don't know if you can see that, but it will actually bend. The whole idea is to get it to make a circle shape, and the only reason we're doing 1 inch is we're not taking out very big sections of it, just the width of the blade. So we don't want to weaken it too much, but we allow it to actually do its thing, to curve, to make that shape. Now, as Elgrimir said earlier, you're not going to have a long enough piece. They have a 9-foot section, I think, or 10 or 9. I can't remember.
It comes in 9-foot sections.
Right. So you're not going to have enough to go all the way around a 3-foot circle. If you know how pi works, and no, you're not going to be able to do that circumference. So what you have to do is buy an extra little piece to finish it off, which put that on the back side.
I recommend another 3-foot section at least. I give you a total of 12 feet to work with. The one thing you want to be careful of when you get to this stage, you're this far into it, you do not want this to bend any kind of way. Anywhere where you touch, you want to bend it back and forth.
Right. You want to keep this together if you can, because if you can get this around the shield without bending it much, it is way stronger, especially like I was saying, if it's an SCA shield or anything like that. It's going to make it stronger having the rimming this way. Rawhide, if you use those type of bones, and we're talking about that, you didn't use the aluminum, it becomes hard as a rock as well. It's very plastic.
All right, well, let's rim the shield.
Yeah, now we're going to rim the shield. There we go. All right, we have our aluminum rimming now, our seat channeling that's been cut. We have the shield where this is the front side, and we've left a piece that can be folded over. The back side is totally to the edge, which is fine. It helps reinforce it, and it will still fit on there. You could even do an extra layer on both sides. We're doing one layer here, which makes it easy for us to tell which way to go with, because the grain's all going straight up and down on the veneer sides. The actual slats means they're running this way, horizontally. You can also tell by, putting it against you and pressing, it'll be real strong one way, and the other way it'll bend more. So, but what we're going to do is start putting this on. You would normally want to put it all the way around first and test it, but I'm pretty confident it's going to work because I know exactly where I cut each section. And you want normally to put the extra little piece you have to fill in with towards the back side is what I do, because this top and the front is going to get hit more on the edging than anything else, because they're going to try to get around the shield this way. If you're tilting the shield out, they're going to try to hit around. They're usually not going to hit as much towards the back. If they do, it won't have as much power. So let's go ahead and start putting this on. I'm going to start putting glue on here with the squirt bottle. And you could just put a lot of glue. It doesn't matter. We can just start putting a nice big old bead underneath it. This will help seat it, will help strengthen the edge. I'll set this down here. We're going to guess about, we're going to guess about where we need to start with this, how big a section we're going to have. You start putting this on, you just start rolling it on, that's what you do. Start crimping it down and rolling it on. And as you start going, you'll notice it's working like you want it to. I had to bend a little bit more and then put it on. But it should be working like you want it to. If the glue runs down, it doesn't matter. You're going to be doing more to it shortly. Secret here, keep this to stay on. Probably should have went all the way around it first before I continued, but we'll get this to work. Never fear. I should have put it around it first and crimped the piece. That helps a lot. I'm going to put it all the way around and then pull it back off to put the... And see if I judged it about right. Yes, that's about right. We're going to come back to that point. I'll show you what I meant about.
So as you can see, he's already shaped the aluminum.
Right. I want a pair of pliers though. Get off camera here and grab one. Okay. What I'm going to do is to make sure this stays down, I'm going to crimp a few of these in. Because sometimes it's a little wider than your actual layers, and the back side will probably fit tighter. But that will allow this to stay down as you're fitting it on. Now we're going to figure out where I stopped putting glue and put more glue. And like I said, if you need to crimp more in other areas, just go for it. This is already fitting on so tight it doesn't want to come loose. That's a good sign. We're going to start putting more glue underneath it. And what we're going to do is show you how to mark this and cut it. It's done the exact same way. But what you do is just slip it on. There's nothing to fret over. Slip it right on in. And you move it, roll it along the edge, and you will get right here to where you need it. And it's so simple, you just mark it there. If you cut that line right there, it will fit perfectly on your shield. If you saw what I just did, all I did is roll it. And that's going to be your last section to put on, and we're going to go ahead and do that. But it's the same process as the rest, and it just glues on, and then we're going to go into the actual finishing stage of pulling this over and gluing it down. Shouldn't be anything big, it's pretty simple, it just takes quite a bit of glue. Now we're going to start adding glue to the very front, where we left the little lip not glued. This strengthens the front of the shield. It helps hold the covering on. If it accidentally glued down from you putting it on, don't worry about it. Just go with it. Now, take this and we're going to come by here and kind of smear it. It's like we did everywhere else. We put a layer so it can adhere to it and adhere it to the metal as well. Want to use a lot of force, just kind of push it down with the back of your nails, works great. You don't want bubbles. Alright, we're going to flip this over, and now that should be on there fairly well, and we're going to start pulling this up and see how much we have to overlap, which is never going to be even all the way around, no matter how well you try it. There's going to be areas where you don't have as much or have more. Now, if you want to trim that, you can, or you can choose to just go ahead and glue it down, which should be fine. Which I'm probably going to choose just to go ahead and glue it down. I may trim a little bit. It looks like I have way too much in a few places. But if that happens, then just go back and trim it off. And it also helps to trim it while you see it so that you know what you're trimming. Because it's going to kind of fold up and bunch up on its own as we go. Which is normal. But if you see any little jagged edges you don't like, something like I don't like this here, just take it on off. The rest of it looks pretty good. So we see how far in we have. Then on the back side, it's about the same. It's just when it's bunching, it doesn't look the same. It's about, well, we cut about 3 inches all the way around. So what we do now, what we're going to do is, shield happens to be a hair bigger than 36 inches, because the hair with the rimming and everything. We're going to lay this on here, and we want to make sure you can see the grain since we only have one layer of linen on here. Now, if you do multiple layers, you might want to mark this shield or shield somehow, so you know which side you want up, because you have the piece that's added on one side, and you want the continuing flowing piece on the front side towards where you're going to be holding, if you can. It doesn't really matter if you usually holds to do here is we're going to line this up where it's as even as we can get it, straight up and down with that grain, because that means that the slats are running the right way, because the veneer grain, remember, is nothing. That's just pretty much the thin veneer that makes it look good on the outside. The slats are actually running this way, the way it's sliding is. So we're going to reach under here, or we're marking the front side so we can see where the handle is going to be, because what we're going to do is grind this down so it'll lay flat against the shield. We're going to use a sander to sand it down. You could use an electric planer, I'm sure, if you're careful, but this allows it to fit flat. We're going to do a little shaping on this dowel so it actually fits right. And we have our marking right there. So let's get our sander out. We're going to have to set this to one side. Back on here. See how we did, how it's coming out. The handle fits in well, that's good. If it fits flat against the shield, that's good as well. That is looking about right. That actually does look about right. We're doing good. I'm going to start cleaning it up now. We're going to clean these areas up here. Use what we got to finish it up. Temper it as much as you like or whatever, rounding the ends, but you want pretty much all the strength you can get. That just rounds this off. There's nothing sharp. It doesn't look like just a plain dowel. It looks like it's hand shaped. You can do whatever you want with this grip. It's up to you if you want to play with it. I just like a round grip on mine, so I'm going to lay this on here. And you've got the handle somewhat sunk in. You don't want to take quite half off, just enough, because you still want all this strength to hold the slats from going this way, because this veneer will not do it. They'll break. So this has to go from top to bottom, especially on this design. This is your back brace and your handle. Alright, it looks good. Now we're about to the phase of attaching the boss and the handle. You have your handle done, and it's time to put it on. Well, what we're going to do here to figure out where the nails or the rivets go to hold the center boss and the handle to the shield, two main ones that are on top and bottom of the 6 holes, we're going to line it up, look. We can even look underneath if we want, under the shield. I have a good lighting here coming straight down where I can see the holes, the shadow. So pretty much I'm thinking this is in the right location. Go ahead and put a mark here, and put a mark here. And that's where I'm going to drill the holes. Now the reason we're drilling holes and we're not just nailing it straight through, oak splits. Almost any wood at this size, a dowel will split. You don't want to do that. That's not something you're after. So this should work. But we'll go ahead and get our drill. I'm going to go with right there. I think that's going to work. I'm going to go right here. What we do is we start our hole. about drilling through the shield with the lamination on it. It's not going to split wood or anything. Shouldn't cause any damage at all. Now we get to see if we did good. We're going to go with our nails that we're using as rivets. And these are going to come up, try to use the same 2 holes you picked. Hopefully they're all the same all the way around. They should be. But this is where we're going to see how it works. Alright, we've got our nails coming up through. What we're going to do now is use the Dremel to cut them the length we want. You don't have to, but I've already put these underneath the 5-pound weights that are going to be working as an anvil. So that way it's even and they're on here. We're going to measure about a thumb, like we were talking about earlier, about an inch, or an increment, like the tip of your finger. We don't need exact measurement. Now we're going to do the other one the exact same way, not the same spot. Cut down where we want them, and what you do is you're going to go ahead and put glue under the handle. So we'll put a little bit on there. If you want to put a lot, you can. I'm going to put a nice stream here. That's just to give a little extra strength to it. I got that straight enough in the right spot. It looks like it. I'm going to go ahead and slide it down now. Put it back on just like you took it off. Looks like I got it in about the right spot, so that's not bad. If there's excess around it, just smear it in. Now when we go to hammer these, it's going to pull it tight. And you're going to do a series of, I would say approximately 2 more here and here. So we're going to go ahead and put these in right now. And this is period on the old shields when I'm doing this. We're going to have to use actual rivets here, like use washers to rivet it to this, but for here, this is perfectly alright. And you can go ahead and set this right in the middle. And the reason we're pounding it so far down into this wood, the handle, is because then it's nothing sharp, nothing anybody can complain about. It's not going to come out easily. And I may just pick it up and flip it around so I can get the right angle I want here for the next one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to knock it that way, away from the head. Be careful not to crack it, but you're going to basically hammer it right into the wood. That way there's nothing really sharp sticking up. Nothing to complain about, not Marshall or anything, and these should not unbend, especially with it glued like this, and as you see it pulls it right in tight. And we're going to continue by doing the next holes about midway in between, and then about 2 to 3 inches down we'll do the next set up here, and then in the same way. side here now, and we're going to drill the holes from the front side. We've already got the handle side. You saw how we do that. And the handle's on here very securely. It will not move, budge, or anything. You shouldn't have any protrusions from those nails you've been over, because they should be flush. They should have been beaten into the wood. But be careful how you do that so you don't break your dowel. And that's the great thing about this, the lamination. You don't have to worry about wood splitting, or anything like that. Okay, we've got all these in. I'm going to flip it over. We have all the holes we need. Now we need is waste of 7. And may I add, his boss is very well made. The one from Medieval Shop. They do a really good job. That you're not going to have to worry if you do your hole just right. You've got plenty of leeway on it. You're not going to wind up with a short on the edge of the shield or something. So we got this lined up correctly. These are our anvils, so we're doing this. I might slide it. It should work. Let me grab another one of our pieces. I'll slide this on through. It's on top of the anvil, and we've got our boss on it. Now we're going to do on this. This is a little bit different. We need our one of our washers, and these are 1/8 inch in the center, which is the size nails we got. If you check this out, it will fit. It's a poor man's rivet, so to speak. Might have to flush that down a little bit better. You don't want to just bend the nails on this part because it's too short a depth, and they'll work their way out. No, we don't want that. So you want to cut it off with just a little sticking up, not much, because this is hard to knock down steel. And another secret. You can score the nails slightly so it will muster about easily. Not too much, just a little bit. And we'll go ahead and try to set one and see how hard this is to set. That's not going anywhere. You see how solid that went in? Nails have always been good for a poor man's rivet. I know people who make plate armor and are very good at making plate armor. And since sometimes expensive rivets, steel rivets can be expensive for what they're working with, they use nails or washers. It works great. Well, there you have it. We have this one completed. It's very nice.
Yeah, what a beauty.
It's lightweight. We only have one layer of linen on the front and back. The only thing you might have to do with this to fight, let's say in the SCA, is you might need to put your hose around it. In that case, like I said, get this the PVC hose with the for irrigation with the what is that in there? The
it's got the nylon.
Yeah, the nylon threading. I don't know.
Yeah, we've been working all day. This has been an all-day project. Just so you know, guys.
3 inches in. Make sure they're far enough apart so you don't cause a perforation, and lace it on. You could do that with leather. If they require it, if they don't, you can use it just like this. It depends on your group and your area. You can use rawhide and just stitch it on and let it wrap itself on there as it dries. That works as well.
Yes.
And that will make it very, very authentic and very period if you want to go around with rawhide.
Yeah.
You could use more layers of linen if you like. It will get heavier because it's going to this is going to get saturated again on top and eat up the glue, and then it's going to eat up the glue, and you're going to eventually have so much glue on here that it's really, really strong and very, very laminated, but you don't want to make it too heavy.
But it ends up, yeah. Now over time, it starts to lose a little bit of
Because you're going to hold it in your hand. This is a center ball shield. You don't want to get it so heavy that you can't use it. So this is the nice size I like because when you reach out to cut, your hand is covered by the shield.
Yeah.
That's the whole point to why I believe they use 3-foot rounds, is no matter which position you're in, you're covering your cut. And they normally didn't have a lot of gauntlets and stuff back then.
Right.
Whereas the smaller shields, it's harder to do that. Your hand protrudes a lot more often, and you don't have the same protection.
So, you know, we always like to evaluate the things we make or the things that we get from people or things that we've purchased. And as much as I'd love to take this and put it through its paces through our rigorous testing, I want to be able to save this for SCA use or for steel reenactment use.
Yeah, we
don't want somebody to tell us we can't use it. So we have the one we made for medieval shops.
We already tested this Umbo with everything. We tested it with arrows. We tested it with SCA weapons. Of course, they did nothing. I mean, there were 10. And we tested it with an actual flail, a horseman's flail.
Yes.
Yeah, double balled, and all we got was some little dimples in it. That's about it.
That's right.
So that means this is dang near bulletproof. I'd say a 22 would bounce off. We haven't tested that yet.
No, yeah, maybe someday.
I'm just saying, yeah, it's pretty stout. And then the shield, this is 6 layers of linen, and we didn't spare the glue. So, I mean, it's very, very laminated and strong. So we want to try one with an axe.
Yeah, we want to hit with an axe. Let's try throwing an axe at it, too.
Oh, definitely. Just like Mike Lode's test where he threw a Francesca.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do that, the Francesca.
Maybe we could throw in maybe a javelin or something. That's
definitely,
cool.
definitely. Let's go out and do that, and we'll see what happens. This one we'll leave it set here and cure a little bit better, and we'll come back and finish it up. And maybe I'll take this out to SCA, and we'll test it out, and I'll show you how it turns out, and I got to practice and how it fares.
Nice.
See you later. Thanks again,
See you outside, guys.
Thanks,
Medieval Shop. This is awesome.
What we're going to do here is test this shield against the Francesca type axe. It's more of a little hand axe, throwing axe I have. But we're going to see how it fares because Mike Lodes did one of these and his held up quite well. Let's see what it does here.
Woo!
I'm seeing a little cut, not much more of anything else. Want to hit it with the axe real quick?
Let's do it.
I'll try a javelin later if we want. But there's a difference for someone holding a shield and it being on a brace. They always test this stuff on a brace. Have it out like we've got. I'm going to swing at this and see if I can chop into the actual shield. But remember, there's a difference between it being on a brace and in a hand and performing like it's supposed to. You can hold it a little more like you're fighting with it. A little more, yeah. Yeah. Trying to stop this axe. Push out a little bit, you know what I mean?
Negative. Oh,
we did some damage to it. But how bad? Not bad at all.
Not at all.
That is excellent. A normal axe would have went clean through the shield. I know you're going to say, well, look, there's some damage. It cracked. But that's how well reinforced it is. That can be repaired. And he's fine. A normal shield a lot of reenactors make, this would have went through and out the back side and been stuck in the shield. So this proves that the lamination is more than enough. It stopped arrows. It stopped hand axes that were used. We might try a javelin in a second.
Let's do that. I'd like to see that.
All right. A lot of times a javelin, just like the hand axe, was used to weaken the shields as they were running in. They'd throw javelins first, and then they would go into throwing Francesca. This is documented by their enemies, not them all, though, in shield walls. So, documented by Saxon text and so on. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to throw this into a shield, because just like the old Romans, you throw a javelin into the shield to weight it down as you're coming in to make that shield useless. So let's see if I can actually penetrate that shield with a javelin point blank like this. Well, it didn't go deep, but it looks like it busted my old javelin. Let's see how far we made it through. That's it. Not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Not bad.
If it had lived, you know, it might have weighed the shield down enough that I couldn't have used it.
A lot of these javelins were made out of cheaper metals and stuff, just like mine, just something made to throw. Let's see what we got here. That was a nice impact.
Nice shot.
Nothing at all. I'll try a tip-ear type shot, try to cut through and see what I can.
All right.
Nope. No go.
Nah,
nice slashing on the shield, but that would get you killed trying to sit here and just cut through it.
Yeah, I don't think that's very effective against all this linen.
Try a thrust. Let's try a thrust. Here,
Do it.
Hold it out. We lost a rivet. These rivets are bent. That's what we showed you in the video to actually use the washer. Only on these here. The handle hole is great. As y'all can see at our high D. Nothing.
Nah.
It skipped off. It didn't even try to go in. Let's try one more time.
All right, here. I'll even make it like a wall for you.
So everybody can see this.
Oh.
We actually got it in. Barely. Let's see
And
what
that
we
was
do
me
with that.
braced in the back.
Got our Viking winged spear at Rotsviat. And we're going to see what we can do. Or Gareth. We're going to see how I can hit this. He's going to maybe brace it at the top. What you normally do is use your hilt will not let your knuckles hit it if it's made correctly, because you got the T-top and the bottom you got your T-cozy. So that's one of the reasons it was made that way. We'll show you that in some other videos how they use that to fight with.
Today I'm just going to use my fist.
It's like a handle you can put anywhere you want. So he's going to put his fist there. Hopefully don't hurt his hand against it. I'm going to thrust here because he doesn't want this just going through. We hear this in Sagas too, that they braced it. Not a great idea always, but in this case we'll see what it does.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, we actually got a
yeah!
hole. Now spears can punch through chains, so this is not that impressive. But we got a nice hole. It actually managed to bust through everything. That took him bracing it, and it took me with all my force and my whole body weight to go through it. So we finally punched a hole in this after all our trouble. This is 6 layers, and it does weigh around 9 pounds, the actual amount of wood back then. Rawhide might perform better, but I'm not sure. That's pretty dang good. That's pretty decent.
Right on.